Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be reviewing Deconstructing Decolonization with Nigel Bigar on the Peterson Academy. So, I'm really glad that I was able to take a course like this. This is a type of course that you're not going to find at the traditional university. It kind of pushes back against the common narrative that all colonization was bad, which if you study history to any degree, you know that that's not true. There was a lot of positive effects of colonization. There were a lot of negative effects as well. And I think Dr. Nigel Bigar does a great job of balancing that throughout this series of lectures. He kind of goes over the modern myths associated with colonization, and he kind of debunks them. And he gives a little bit of a background on what it means, what the word colonization means. It's not going to be a comprehensive history of colonization. That's too long of a time period. And I think it would take something like 36 lectures to cover all of that history. So this is a short course. It's only 5 hours long, 6 lectures in total. And I'll talk more about what I thought about the course towards the end of the video. We'll start off, as always, by going over the synopsis on the Peterson Academy website. Then I'll talk about the quizzes. I'll talk about the names of all the lectures. And we'll go over the recommended books and kind of my general thoughts. So, the synopsis on the Peterson Academy website. In Deconstructing Decolonization, a 5-hour course, Dr. Bigar critically examines the concept of decolonization, arguing that the movement is largely misguided and threatens to undermine faith in the liberal West. The course delves into the complex histories of slavery and racism within the British Empire, emphasizing the role of Christian thought and the conviction in human equality in driving abolition and shaping colonial policies. Dr. Bigar rejects the characterization of these policies as cultural genocide and questions the case for reparations, advocating for a nuanced understanding of historical legacies and a focus on addressing current inequalities. So, that gives you guys kind of a general overview of what this course is about. Like I said in the beginning there, this isn't a full history on colonization. It's more so deconstructing the idea of decolonization and kind of the myths around colonialism and why sometimes people in the modern world just see it as all negative, like the white people just went across the world and killed all the peaceful natives. It's not how history played out. I rewatched Apocalypto pretty recently, and if you guys haven't seen that film, I highly recommend it. It's phenomenal. Not for the faint of heart. If you're not into gruesome, violent movies, it's definitely not for you, but it's probably one of the most exhilarating films I've ever seen in my life. You don't see the Europeans till kind of the end of the movie, not to spoil anything, but the majority of the movie you're focused on kind of the native people, I believe in the Amazon or somewhere in South or Middle America. But you're focusing on these tribes in their kind of primitive state, and the movie is shocking. If you guys have seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. So you have to imagine coming upon that and thinking like, oh, I'm just going to go land in India and find some spices and interact with a culture much older than Europe and a culture that we know about. No, you find this new culture, these primitive people who are doing human sacrifice and all this crazy stuff. And imagine landing on those beaches and seeing that stuff. You'd probably want to wipe the island clean of everybody. Now, that almost happened with diseases, not with harquebusts, but with diseases. And it's such an interesting history of how we interacted with these people. You know, there were good interactions, bad interactions. There were Spanish fighting Spanish. Like, it's a complex history. So I highly recommend diving into it and reading about, the last days of the Incas, learn about the Aztecs, learn about the colonization of North America as well. It's very, very important to dig into this history and not just read your opinions from news sources or Reddit or some lesser source like that. You want to dive into the history, you want to read books, and you want to find this stuff out for yourself, because colonization had a lot of positive effects as well as negative effects, and Nigel Bigar kind of goes over this in this course. This is what this course is about. It's kind of weighing the pros and cons, talking a little bit about slavery as well, and he mainly focuses on the British Empire. I'm pretty sure he's British. I could be wrong. I can't remember his accent for some reason, even though I just took this course a couple days ago. But I'm pretty sure he's British. That's why he focuses more so on the British Empire. And this is also based off of his 2021 book, Colonialism, I believe. It's Colonialism. I believe that's what the book's called. I'll put it up on screen right now. I had a chance to pick it up a couple days ago from Value Village. Unfortunately, I didn't. I could only get 10 books because of the sale that was on, and I know it seems like I should have had room in those 10 books, but I found 10 history books that I really needed, some of them for my shelf, some of them for my cousin's shelf, but I ended up not picking it up. But eventually I'll pick that book up. I believe it was released in 2021, and each lecture in this course is basically a summary of one of the chapters in his book. So this course is basically just his book put into course form. So I highly recommend going and checking out his book. It's not on the recommended books, but like I said, it's called Colonialism, and it's by, obviously, Nigel Bigar. So yeah, I really liked this course. I'm going to go over the names of all the lectures first, and then we'll go over the quizzes and the recommended books and wrap up for today. So the first lecture is called Decolonization Story. The second is called Slavery and Emancipation. The third is Empirical Racism. The fourth is Cultural Adaptation. The fifth is Colonial Reparations. And the sixth is Re-Evaluating Decolonization. I almost say decolonialism there, and that is not the word that I'm trying to read. But yeah, which one was my favorite? I kind of like doing that in these review videos now. I don't know. Maybe lecture 3, the empirical racism. I found that one quite interesting, and how racism developed, because he goes over that a little bit, kind of the history of racism. He also kind of goes over the people who were fighting back against it early on, which is quite interesting to read about. There were people like from the beginning of the slave trade that were saying like, this is wrong, we need to stop it. It's not like it took 200 years for people to figure that out. There were people from the beginning saying like, hey, we should probably not be doing this to other people. But yeah, looking into the history of slavery is also very interesting. And if you haven't looked into it, I think the biggest takeaway you'll get from going into a deep dive is that we have all been slaves throughout history. Just because modern slavery has kind of exploded, kind of in correlation to the population explosion, and there's just more and more people on the planet every year, so there's going to be more slaves, and it's going to seem like a bigger effect. Like there's more. I know a lot of you probably already know this, but there's more people in slavery today than there were during the transatlantic slave trade, and I'm glad that slave trade ended. Obviously, we all are. But throughout all of human history, people have been enslaving each other. And you look at the history of China, you look at the history of Africa. I mean, it's just all slavery. So it's a miracle that we were able to end it. And I think Nigel does a great job of kind of sketching that out throughout this course. It's an absolute miracle. And if you look into the abolitionists and how that movement came about, it's very inspiring. Like I would seriously look into that history and not just take whatever your grade 7 teacher told you about it or whatever you read on the internet. Like dive into the history of this stuff. It's very interesting. If you guys want some recommended books, I can certainly provide that for you guys. I'll go over the recommended books on this course in a second here. The quizzes real quickly. Like I said, I don't really have much to say because I'm kind of getting redundant here. Like if you pay attention, you're going to do well on the quizzes. I don't even know why I bring them up in these videos anymore because you guys are going to do well on them. I have a very smart audience. I can tell from reading the comments. You guys are very intelligent, and I'm sure if you guys pay attention throughout these courses, you're going to do absolutely amazing on the quizzes. The final exams, I believe, are just about here. I'm going to do another video, might be out today, going over the Peterson Academy updates because we've gotten quite a few updates in the last couple days. So I'll cover that more in that video, but we should have final exams rolling out here pretty soon. So the recommended books for the course. The first one is by Niall Ferguson. It is Empire, How Britain Made the Modern World. Niall Ferguson is one of the greatest historians of all time. Highly recommend reading all of his books, not just this one. The next one is Against Decolonization by Doug Stokes. Haven't read that one, but that one seems pretty interesting. If I'm going to go further down this rabbit hole of deconstructing this idea of decolonization, then that's probably a good book, especially if it's recommended by the Peterson Academy. And the third one is The War Against the Past by Frank Furedi. Furedi. Wouldn't be a deep thought video if I didn't butcher her name, right? So The War Against the Past, I've heard of this book. I heard about this book quite a while ago, I think. It's been on my radar, so I've been wanting to read it for a while, but I haven't got around to it yet. The only one I've read here is Empire, and it's a fantastic book. But the other two seem phenomenal, so I highly recommend all three of them, even if I haven't read the last two. So any other concluding thoughts that I have on this course? Well, It's a very short course, like I said. It's only 5 hours. It's basically a summary of some of the chapters in a book by this professor that came out in, I believe it was 2021, this book came out. And it does a great job at kind of detailing out the complexities of colonization. Like I said, it's not a comprehensive history. It's more so, dancing around the ideas and trying to understand them better. So I think everybody should take this course. This is something that I wish I was taught in school. In school, it wasn't so black and white because I did still go to a Catholic high school, but we were taught, I'd had a little bit of a liberal high school. We were taught that colonization was bad and most of the effects from it were bad and we should be looking to decolonize. And I'm like, I don't understand any of this. It seems like from somebody who actively reads history and has been for basically my whole life, it seems like it brought a lot of good stuff. It civilized to the Americas and brought trade to this side of the world, and there's so many positive aspects of it. So you really have to dive into it for yourself. I think that's the only way you're going to learn about it. But I wish I was taught this kind of unbiased perspective that there were a lot of good things that came out of colonization, but there was also a lot of bad things. But it seemed like my school was just focusing on the bad things. And you want to focus on both. You want to balance the scales. You want to know, you just want to know both sides. It's so important. And I'm glad I'm signed up for the Peterson Academy and I have the chance to take a course like this. So that's all that I have for today, guys. Let me know down below if you have any questions about the course or if you've taken the course and you want to share your thoughts on it. Let me know down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends. It helps boost this channel and the algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching as always. It means the world to me. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.